watching Long Island Boys High School Lacrosse on News 12 Varsity. As boys basketball championships are being decided up in Binghamton, here in Suffolk County, we open up the season of lacrosse with a terrific Nassau-Suffolk High School non-league battle. This is the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week as the Garden City Trojans and the Smithtown West Bulls open up the 2019 campaign. After both teams had successful seasons last year, first for Garden City, the defending New York State Class B champs, finishing 13th in the country, and they had one All-American on their way to winning their 7th state title in school history. Meanwhile, Smithtown West and Suffolk A, a terrific season that ended in the semifinals in overtime to Hills East. While they did not finish ranked nationally, they were 5th in the state in Class A, and they do feature 2 All-Americans from last year's squad. So Smithtown West and Garden City battling. This is a series that has gone on for over a decade, and here are players to watch. As we mentioned, the All-Americans, Colin Hart, a returning All-American to lead the defense for the Trojans. He is a 4-year player who is bound for Brown. Same can be said for Trevor Yaboa Cody, also going to Rhode Island, the state of Rhode Island next year to play lacrosse. He can play both attack and midfield. Connor Calderone, 3-year starter, one of the best face-off men in all of Long Island and the country. He was an All-American last year. And Matt Cadigan, also somebody to look out for, 3-year starter who is headed for UMass. So we kick off the season with a terrific non-league matchup. Nassau versus Suffolk, Garden City and Smithtown West. They battle next on the HSS Game of the Week here on News 12 Varsity. Big-time matchup to open up the 2019 lacrosse season. Garden City and Smithtown West. Last year, the Bulls took down Garden City by a sizable margin, and it's interesting to learn the approach this season for both teams in this early season matchup. So let's send it down to Amanda Puglisi.
David, this game is being played a few days earlier than Coach Fennell would like. He says his Garden City team, they usually start on Tuesday of next week, but he says, hey, we're going to take this game for what it's worth. And they did have some early scrimmages, one against Syosset and one against St. Anthony's. He says it wasn't really happy with the way they played, but this is all about just getting his guys ready to play for the season. And Coach Moltisanti is using this game in a similar way. He says he likes to test his team early. Smithtown West and Garden City are 2 teams that have really played each other over the past 10 years, and Moltisanti says what he likes to do is he just likes to see what his team has, see what they need to work with, and really they just want to see what they have and get ready for the season ahead.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Amanda, when you think of the Smithtown West standpoint. In Suffolk A, you only get 2 non-league matchups, so you better use them to your advantage in terms of getting better. So they'll face both Garden City and Wantagh out of Nassau. And Garden City, speaking with Steve Fennell, he says it matters who we are in May, not March, and so he gets to begin the process of learning about his team this morning. It is a sunny but somewhat chilly day here in Suffolk County. 46 degrees with the wind, feels like 42, but it is clear and sunny, and we do not have to worry about any precipitation of any form, and that is a welcome sign for March lacrosse. So Garden City in the maroon. Eric Muller getting the start today in net, a senior bound for Franklin and Marshall, replacing the graduated Teddy Dolan. One of those seniors, part of a great senior class. Steve Fennell saying it's a tremendous loss that we'll have to replace. And Mike Simone, the junior, getting the start as Kyle Walker, the terrific goalie from a season ago, has moved on to college. Great matchup overall, and there should be a terrific one at the dot as the birthday boy, Connor Calderone, opens up his 2019 campaign with the face-off victory over Justin Coppola. Both all-state selections a season ago, and the face-off matchup should be terrific. As we roll through the opening couple of minutes of this first quarter, we will show you the starting units Garden City's attack with Basile, Puccio, and Yeboah Cody when they get the ball, and this is their starting midfield group that they'll roll out there, and their defense with experience led by, of course, Colin Hart, who we introduced you to, a returning All-American, was one of 9 out of Nassau a season ago. Spencer Frank, part of the first midfield group. He runs down the right alley. Ryan Bell and Matt Cadigan completes that first unit. That shot off the side of the net, handled well by Muller. And here comes Ford Carney, a short stick defensive midfielder, a position for Garden City that they've really emphasized over the past decade. Think about Tyler Wukta and his play over the last couple of years, who has since graduated. Christian Loud intercepting the pass, and as Amanda told you, Garden City in their scrimmages this week played by turnovers and sloppy play, and we've seen that in the first 2 minutes. Chad Cusimano squeezes through some big checks. And as the Bulls reclaim possession, here is how they look offensively. Mark Cottage, Danny Cadigan, John Hoffman, the returning all-county player. Some experience on the attack line. First midfield unit sees a new name in Ryan Bell, the sophomore. And that starting defense will be anchored by Kevin Eli. Bob Moltisanti thinks that his senior bound for Utah is a potential All-American candidate. Here's Bell taking on the short stick of Joe Scatarigia. That shot from the wing is high from Spencer Frank. Physical, bull dodger. Frank, one of the biggest, toughest two-way midfielders. Bit of a throwback as Smithtown West has two-way guys. Terrific setup, and the first goal of the game. Danny Cadigan finding Matt Cadigan, slicing down the middle of the field. The brothers hook up for the Bulls' first goal. Cadigan's a familiar name for Smithtown West. How many times have those two hooked up for a goal in the backyard? Their older brother Jimmy has come through the program again, and Matt, as a 3-year starter, somebody that we highlighted at the start of the broadcast, projected to have a big senior season. So once again, it's Calderon against Coppola. Ball is loose. There is a whistle and a loose ball push against the Bulls, and so the face-off battle is one apiece. Garden City looks to settle with Trevor Yeboah Cody. Second possession, but first time settled for the Trojans. They started the year 1-2 last year. All 3 non-league games. One of those losses, a 9-goal defeat against Smithtown West as the Trojans turn it over. 2 possessions, 2 turnovers for Garden City. And after a 1-2 start, they finished the year 17-1. Their lone loss in the regular season would stick to Manhasset. Here comes Cadigan, already with 1 goal, dodging down the left in transition and gets pushed off by Carney, who he takes behind to X. Here's Cadigan, skips it, sharp angle shot, is initially gobbled up, but not stopped. Ryan Bell's shot trickles through Muller, and it's a 2-0 start for the Bulls. Matt Cadigan skipping the pass, and it's a 2-0 lead in the first 4 minutes. So Bell from the sharp angle into the body of Muller and just could not stop it enough. A second effort with it right on the line, and Muller looking up, and by our angle, it was sitting right on that blue paint. But the referee was right on the goal line and determined that it had fully crossed. So 2 goals for Smithtown West, 2 turnovers for Garden City, and we have another ground ball battle, 3-on-3 for the faceoff. Loose ball push against Garden City, and Smithtown West has taken 2 out of the first 3 faceoffs. So Smithtown West coming off of a 15-2 season. They won their first 10 games last year, moved up all the way to number 3 in the national rankings before falling on the road toward Melville. Their second and final loss of the season was in the semifinals as they were upset by Hills East 11-10 in overtime. A win would have set up a return matchup with Warren Melville. Patriots went on to win their second straight New York State title and finish atop the Inside Lacrosse national poll. Danny Cadigan. Transition off the substitution game, unsettled and to perfection. Cusimano to Cadigan, 3-0 start for the Bulls. They created an unsettled situation off of the substitution game from midfield. And Cadigan, who is carrying, got the return feed and fired it home. So Matt Cadigan with 1-1, Danny Cadigan with 1-1, and it's a 3-0 start for Smithtown West. And the Bulls, as mentioned, as Garden City uses its first of 2 first-half timeouts, the Bulls need to be very judicious with their non-league selections. You only get 2, and certainly the Suffolk A schedule challenges you in a big way. But between Garden City and Wantagh, they will be tested as they enter their Suffolk A schedule. Rematch with Hills East, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs a year ago. Comac is a top 5 preseason team. Connecticut is a school that Bob Multisanti used to coach. And of course, a big matchup with Smithtown East, April 11th. West Islip ranked 3rd preseason with the Bulls of Smithtown West number 2, Warren Melville number 1, as Bob Multisanti Jr. starting now his 8th season as head coach. Picked up his 100th career win in the playoffs last year. Graduate of Oceanside, where he played his senior season for his father Bob after 3 years at Connecticut. And Multisanti was an assistant for Smithtown West when this series started a little more than a decade ago, and it has now resumed in the last couple years to the benefit of both programs. So we've played 5 minutes into the first quarter. Steve Fennell sees his team down 3-0. He called timeout, and Amanda Puglisi listened into the huddle.
David, Coach Fennell asking his team, hey, are we intimidated? Are we scared of Smithtown West? He says, guys, what are we doing? We need to do a better job. He says, defense, we need to take care of this side of the ball. But he says, offense, you guys need to do a better job. You have to catch and shoot, shake off the cobwebs. And he pointed to his seniors and he said, I'm going to have to rely on you guys here offensively. We need to take care of the ball. Something we talked about has plagued them in their scrimmages. Coach Fennell says he wants to put an end to it right now.
The master motivator, Steve Fennell, as Garden City picks up the faceoff. Let's see if the Trojans can immediately respond to the message from their head coach. So many of these seniors, or so many of these Trojans involved with the football program, where Steve Fennell has a longtime assistant coach, currently the defensive coordinator, a squad that has won 36 games in a row, which includes 3 county and Long Island championships. A quartet of players in Yeboah Cody and Bacafola and Hart and Capola, who have played 4 years on this varsity. And here's Yeboah Cody answering the call from his coach with a right alley dodge and a bouncer that puts Garden City on the board. So the first time that Garden City does not turn it over on the offensive end, they get a goal. Trevor Yeboah Cody on the run, and it takes nearly 6 minutes, but Garden City is heard from today. The New York State Gatorade Player of the Year in football. Impressive for a Long Island player, even more so when you consider Garden City is in Class 2. Impressive athlete who is heading to Brown to continue his lacrosse career. Capola on the left, Calderon on the right, and a clean win for the Smithtown West birthday boy, as the Bulls have now won 3 of 5 at the dot. Unsettled, racing in, low shot off target. Calderon had a look at the net, and now he races off as the Bulls, off the restart, can play 6-on-6. John Hoffman being watched by Billy Kephart, a junior bound for Cornell, who enters the starting lineup for the first time as a junior. Here's the sophomore Ryan Bell, who saw action last year as a 9th grader. Here comes Hoffman. Lefty shot is high. It is backed up by Colin Hart of Garden City, closest to the ball where and when, as he took a good angle to the ball. Here's Carney, really good in transition. Gliding over the midfield line, and Garden City trailing by 2 with 5 minutes to go. And a procedural call there against Garden City. They turn it right back over. Garden City gets it right back. Shot is wide. Jack Muldoon, Yeboah Cody playing more of a midfield spot. He can do both. Starting attackman, part of the second midfield line when needed. Working it around, and that shot is wide. That came from Will Puccio, a former midfielder starting on the attack line. Gavin Pappas will restart, and for Garden City, when it comes to their 6 offensive spots, very fluid with very few players that are locked in into a specific spot. A lot of versatility on the offense for Garden City as they look once again to be a balanced execution style offense. 3:30 to go first quarter. Yeboah Cody has the Trojans' only goal, and he settles there in the corner. Now Gavin Pappas will create some space and take a run against Frank. Garden City looking to replace the production of Liam Muldoon, who is their best offensive player. Step down and an open look for Jack Muldoon, the younger brother of Liam, is off target. Long defensive possession, and Smithtown West calling timeout. They'll use their first stoppage. Up by 2, but their defense on the field for an extended period of time. Garden City out of Nassau Class B with a bit more flexibility when it comes to building their schedule. Massapequa is back on the slate for the Trojans after a few years away, and their non-league takes really on them a trip around the country. Not that they're going to Delaware and Rhode Island and California, but just teams from all over. St. Ignatius, a team traditionally that is ranked in the top 25, a squad that the Trojans played in 2006, their yearly matchup with Shoreham-Wading River nearby in Suffolk, and they'll play a couple of Loyolas this year, one of California, one of Illinois. And if we extended the upcoming schedule a little bit further, there would be a matchup on April 27th at Manhasset. The Woodstick this year will be in late April, and it will be on News 12 Varsity that Saturday night at 7 p.m. as Steve Fennell continues his impressive tenure as Garden City head coach. This following 9 years as a varsity assistant and JV coach under the legendary Doc Doherty. Got his 3rd New York State championship. Steve Fennell has been the head coach of 3 of the 7 in Garden City history. His 6th Long Island championship, 10th Nassau County title in 12 previous years. Just an impressive run of excellence for a Garden City alum who graduated in '91 and then played collegiately at Duke. A straight shooter, an honest guy, a tremendous motivator, somebody who loves the sport and his school and the program, and somebody who doesn't duck anybody. As a Class B school, maybe they're at a disadvantage, although strong argument to make that class doesn't so much matter in more of a niche sport as lacrosse, but he takes on all comers, and Garden City come May and early June is better for it. Again, they started 1-2 last year, including a loss against these Bulls where, according to Steve Fennell, they just got ran off the field. It was 6-0 in the second half for Smithtown West as they shut out the Trojans a year ago. But they finished 17-1 en route to a close victory over Victor in the championship. Yaboa Cody saves it on the sideline. Good hustle play by Jack Muldoon to track it down. And now it's unsettled for Garden City. James Basile by a defender. Here's the ball movement, step down shot off target. Joe Scatarigia missing the net. There's a look at Joe, committed to Bucknell, 3rd-year varsity player. Last year winning county titles in football, basketball, and lacrosse. Yaboa Cody turning around. He too missing the net. Pappas wasn't close enough to it, and the backup to Ryan Bell. So an extended offensive possession for Garden City, but the Trojans come up empty, and the Bulls look to clear. Sloppiness plaguing the Bulls. Ford Carney scoops it up, racing the other way. No numbers for Garden City, so they pull it out and will allow their offensive personnel to get back onto the field. Under 90 seconds to play, first quarter. Smithtown West scored the game's first 3 goals, all in the opening 5 minutes. Matt Cadigan, Ryan Bell, Danny Cadigan, the 3 goal scorers. Trevor Yaboa Cody, the only tally for Garden City. Mike Cacavalli scoops it up. Another Garden City first quarter turnover. Here comes the Bulls. Under a minute to play. Will Smithtown West play for one? They're scoreless in the last 6 minutes. Christian Loud wanted it. Yeboah Cody picks it up. Tough to track him down as Trevor Yeboah Cody enters the box. Basile, a jump shot that got blocked. Hart had inside position, and that hustle play earned Garden City a continuation of the possession in the final stages of the first quarter. Christian Sullivan is on. Now it's Yeboah Cody against Loud. He draws the slide, 2 seconds on the crease, behind the back. And that was wide. Great attempt there by Gavin Pappas, who took the feed right in front. But Garden City could not cut further into the deficit. 3-1 our score after the first quarter. Smithtown West over Garden City on our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Well, we're not inside anymore. We are back on the fields of Lacrosse. Smithtown West and Garden City opening up the 2019 lacrosse season on our HSS Game of the Week here in Suffolk County for what has become a yearly matchup between two of the best programs on Long Island. Smithtown West 15-2 a year ago, Garden City 18-3, and defending New York State Class B champs. I'm David Resnick. I am joined today by Amanda Puglisi, who is down on the sidelines. AP?
David, Coach Fennell telling his team right there that, hey, that was we played much better in that second half of that first quarter, but he still says we have to work on our shot selection. We cannot overshoot the ball. We just need to take our time and take good shots. Now on the other side for Smithtown West, it was all about defense in that huddle. Coaching staff saying we need to fight through the picks. There's no reason why Garden City should have such easy shots. We need to do a much better job on defense, like I said, fighting through those picks.
It's an interesting paradox, Amanda, when you think from the Smithtown West standpoint, they feel like they're giving up easy looks, and from the Garden City standpoint, they feel like they're shooting too much. And they've become volume shooters instead of being selective. Connor Calderon opens up the quarter with a clean win that leads to a goal. Mark Cottage goes low, 4-1 Smithtown West. Calderon 4-2 in faceoffs, clean win, and he pushes the action to Mark Cottage, who has developed into a terrific all-around attackman. And this is what Smithtown West can do, and something that Bob Maltasanti commented on. Because of our face-off capabilities, because of Connor Calderon winning better than 80% of his draws, we can get up early. We can go 3-0, 4-0, 5-1, and really demoralize a team. But credit Justin Coppola right there, mucking it up, and now off the wing, it's picked up by Garden City. Danny Bacafola, the terrific long stick midfielder, part of that face-off unit, scoops up the ground ball. Possession here for the Trojans, now trailing 4-1 after giving up the goal in the opening seconds of the second quarter. They allowed the first three. Trevor Yeboah Cody scored midway through the quarter, and now the deficit is back to 3 facing the Trojans. Christian Sullivan throws wide. Will Puccio couldn't bring it in, and another Garden City turnover, as their execution to this point has been less than clean. This is a Garden City team that doesn't compete a lot together in the offseason. Many are football players, and they use the winter as a tune-up for the spring. And Steve Fennell saying that over a 90-day season, it's sometimes difficult to motivate your team throughout. And so in some ways, they really ease into the season, and then they really start to pick things up into April and May as the scouting reports get a bit more sophisticated, more video is available. The fun part about this matchup is there's nothing on these guys. Coaches are forced to make in-game adjustments, and from the reports we've heard from Amanda, a lot of those adjustments for the Bulls so far have been defensively. Frank bull dodging his way to an open right-handed look. That's wide. A lot of it is expected of the Hartford-bound midfielder. Second year, part of that first midfield group. Some graduation losses in terms of that position. As here's Hoffman, really taking the lead on offense as he dives forward and skips one high. Kyle Zawatsky is now a freshman at Yale after an All-American season, so now Hoffman will be in charge of the offense a bit more, along with Mark Cottage. A great shot of him restarting from the vantage point of the corner. Here comes Hoffman, cradling with the left, circling the crease. Hoffman takes a dive. He is quadruple teamed, and the ball is jarred free. Colin Hart with the check that dispossessed Hoffman, and here's transition for Garden City. Garden City was abnormally super athletic last year. They played in transition. They rode intently. They got extra possessions. They took advantage of numbers. Steve Fennell is curious if that will be part of the identity again this year. In some ways, you expect it with Yeboah Cody back as Christian Sullivan gets another run in the midfield, and he pings one off the pipe. Christian Sullivan, a big dodge down the left side, and he nearly gave Garden City its second goal. Sullivan again, this time draws a slide. A successful connection to Basile. Here's James Basile. Quick slide from the top by Frank. And now it's Jack Muldoon's turn to dodge. Sullivan on the run, and that is snared. Mike Simone snatches it out of the air as Sullivan put another one on net. Sullivan went off stick side high, and a transition turnover gives it right back to the Trojans, who picked up a little momentum on that last possession in the form of Christian Sullivan, who is expected to be in the mix in the midfield and has gotten consecutive runs. Approaching the 7-minute mark, quarter number 2 of opening day of Lacrosse. Manhasset basketball losing yesterday to Poughkeepsie and Binghamton. Brentwood still to play. Girls basketball championships being decided in Troy, and here we are in Suffolk County, bundled up in the outdoors playing lacrosse and kicking off our 2019 coverage on News 12 Varsity. Scatteregia stepping in and side winding that wide. Just a few weeks ago that he was wrapping up the basketball campaign in the comfort of a climate-controlled gym. Here's Basile. Now Puccio working in tandem behind the net. Scatterigia matched up against the short stick, trying to take advantage of that matchup. That's Cusimano. It's dumped inside. Muldoon couldn't handle. Loose ball picked up by the Bulls. And another errant pass in transition. Scatterigia spinning on the scoop. Scatterigia charging in on the doorstep and a score. Gavin Pappas slams it in, and Garden City scores unsettled. It's just a 2-goal game here at Smithtown West. So off the turnover, Scatterigia did a nice job scooping it up. And finding Gavin Pappas right on the doorstep. So we talked early about Garden City and their sloppiness when it came to turnovers, and here's Smithtown West struggling over the last couple minutes to clear and struggling to maintain possession in the half field. Calderon thought he had it out the front door. Instead, Justin Coppola had it under his stick, closing the gap to just 4-3 in the face-off battle. Coppola's play at the X has allowed Garden City to recover from a turnover-plagued first quarter. Christian Sullivan out there. He returns to the midfield grouping with Puccio and Yeboah Cody. Ryan Connolly, a sophomore attackman, getting a run with Gavin Pappas and James Basile. So a lot of the same names, but now in different positions, as we have two starting attackmen as part of this midfield group with Sullivan. Under 5 to go. Puccio spinning. Now Yeboah Cody takes a jump shot that's deflected. Kevin Eli outnumbered in the corner. Now 3-1, and he sweeps it to the near side. Mike Cacavalli picks it up. And a timeout taken. Timeout taken by Smithtown West. What a play. Before the scoop from Cacavalli from Eli, he was outnumbered 2-1 and then 3-1, and yet still dug out possession. We've been talking quite a bit about this series. Smithtown West has taken 2 out of the last 3. The last 2 have not been close. Especially last year, it was all Smithtown West in the second half, outscoring the Trojans 6-0. John Hoffman had 3 goals in that game, leading all scorers. Trevor Yeboah Cody had a tally for the Trojans as they were outmanned in last year's contest. This series dates back to when Steve Pinnell had a relationship with the previous head coach of Smithtown West, and one of the first games that Steve Pinnell created 13 years ago when he took over was this matchup with the Bulls. They haven't played continuously over the last decade plus, but the rivalry has resumed in recent years to the benefit of both. And such a great aspect of lacrosse is because of the availability of non-league games, because there is a separation between the haves and have-nots when it comes to this sport. You don't have to guess what the results would be in a lot of occasions. In fact, a lot of the top programs play each other. Whether it's coaching relationship or alma maters or some other connection that brings programs together. Steve Fennell tells a great story as he had a relationship with Coach Keenan, the previous head coach here at Smithtown West, and Steve Fennell said, hey, why don't we go out and play? And Steve Fennell didn't really know much about the Bulls at that point and just wanted to go out and face a great program. He said 7 points later from Rob Pinnell, and we got ambushed. That was a welcome to Suffolk County lacrosse in some ways for Steve Fennell, certainly knowing of the talent of Rob Pinnell, but Garden City that year, whether it was 2006, 2007, just another victim of somebody who would become Division I's all-time leading scorer at Cornell and a successful pro as well, getting his start in Suffolk County, of course, followed then by his brother, who had a great high school and college career as well. Under 4 to play, successful clear for the Bulls out of the timeout called by Smithtown West. They are out of them in the first half. On the crease, Mark Cottage turning around and dumping it in. He's got his second of the quarter as Ryan Bell set it up on the move. Mark Cottage has his second. Ryan Bell adds an assist to an earlier goal. Lead is back to 3, matching the largest advantage for the Bulls today. They led 3-0, 4-1, and now 5-2 with 3:30 to go in the first half. Calderon trying to play make it, take it. Coppola shoulder down Loud. There was no call, and Hart comes up with the ground ball for Garden City. Paskowitz lost it. Loud picks it up. Another turnover. Three minutes to go. Smithtown West a chance to build on its lead. Matt Cadigan, Ryan Bell, Danny Cadigan, and 2 from Mark Cottage. The 5 tallies for the Bulls in this first half. Chad Cusimano out there, along with Matt Cadigan and Spencer Frank in the midfield. He inverts. Justin Coppola, the face-off specialist, stuck out there because of the transition. Cottage never squeezed it, and so on the turnaround, it flopped loose. Danny Bacafola, bound for Cornell, sprints forward. Unsettled for Garden City. Basile has to pull it out. Terrific defense by Reed Greco, last year's Rookie of the Year in Suffolk A. Garden City has to regroup after the Trojans had numbers. Smithtown West fell behind 3-0. Or excuse me, Garden City fell behind 3-0. Garden City has trailed the entire way. Basile pivoting, held there by Eli. Loud comes over with the help. Gavin Pappas down the left alley on the crease, and that is high. A golden look by Jack Muldoon sails over the crossbar. 68 seconds to go on the restart. Ryan Connolly, and now it's Trevor Yaboa-Cody. Watch there by Greco. Yaboa-Cody and Pappas, the 2 goal scorers for Garden City. James Basile will quarterback the offense this year. That is to Connolly. He slips. Picked up by Cadigan. Half minute to go. Cadigan with wheels. This is Matt. Step down. Cottage off target. Timeout taken. Garden City as Steve Fennell wants to talk things over defensively, making sure that his defense is in line for this final half minute of play. As Garden City is trailing by 3 after a playoffs last year where they were simply dominant. After winning their 3rd straight Nassau County Championship, they returned to Hofstra to take on Harborfields, the Class B champ out of Suffolk. And the Tornadoes were tornadoed. Just an impressive performance by Garden City, a 12-3 victory to advance into the state playoffs. It was a terrific year for Harborfields. They emerged as an unlikely winner out of Class B, but just outclassed by Steve Fennell and the Trojans a season ago. In the state tournament era, which dates back to 1977, last year was Long Island Championship number 15, 6 in the previous 12 years under Steve Fennell. And what a luxury it is for Garden City to go from one legendary figure in the coaching ranks in Doc Daugherty, top 10 all-time in wins, to then transition to an alum and somebody who has kept the program in such high regards. They play a national schedule within the last, 5, 6, 7 years. They were undefeated as a Class B school and deemed national champs because they finished atop the polls, and their schedule allows them to go play anybody, and they do. Smithtown West trying to, at least at the championship level, get to where Garden City has enjoyed. For all the accolades that Garden City deserves from their season a year ago, Smithtown West, they were 15-2. They were one of the best teams in the best league in the country. Out of the Garden City timeout, Smithtown West possession. We are down to 10 seconds. Hoffman with the lefty cradle. Hoffman fires, he bounces it wide. Out of the crease is Muller, and that is how the first half comes to a conclusion. So Smithtown West maintains its lead, building it back up to 3, and it's a 5-2 advantage at halftime. In our game of the week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics, with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Back here at Smithtown West as the Bulls enjoy a 5-2 halftime lead over Garden City, opening up the 2019 campaign with a terrific non-league matchup. And with that, let's send it down to Amanda on the field.
Well, David, of course, you know it's time that we take a look at this week's Scholar Athlete. And this week, News 12's Dan Serafin is introducing us to Amanda Turner, a senior from St. Catherine's Academy. And she's a senior that learned that anything worth having was worth working for.
4 years ago, success wasn't guaranteed, but Amanda Turner wanted to be a cheerleader at St. Catherine Academy.
It was difficult for me to do it freshman year, including with homework and everything, transitioning into high school. It was very difficult.
While the story hasn't ended yet, Turner has plenty to be proud of as she gets ready to graduate from the Borough School. Turner's now one of the leaders of the cheer team.
It was a great feeling, especially with the group of girls that I had with us. I became captain my senior year.
And it's not just any team. The St. Catherine squad has historically been one of the best in the country.
It was an amazing feeling to know that we helped carry this team to get 6th in the nation. I enjoy it a lot because they do so much for me with cheer and everything, and I enjoy giving back to my school and my community.
Amanda does the same when she's not cheering, helping better her school. Part of the Academy Ambassadors. They basically help classmates wherever they're needed. Turner's got big goals as well, looking to continue her academic career in college to become a forensic scientist. For News 12 The Bronx, I'm Dan Serafin.
So as we hear, St. Catherine's Academy, their cheer team is one of the best in the nation. And David, that seems to be a little bit of a theme today. Of course, Garden City and Smithtown West, two of the best here on Long Island. So back to you, because I know we got a lot more lacrosse to get to.
Amanda, I expect that you'll work on your routine during halftime. We'll check that out by the third quarter. Smithtown West leading Garden City 5-2. It is halftime as both coaching staffs speak with their players. This is the Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS. Back here at Smithtown West, Bulls 5, Trojans 2. Halftime continues here in Suffolk County as we take a look back at the first half, and Smithtown West jumping out to a 3-0 lead to get things started. Matt Cadigan set up by his younger brother Danny for the first goal of the game, and then Ryan Bell, the beneficiary of a good find from Matt Cadigan for a 2-0 start. And then 5 minutes in, Danny Cadigan adds a goal. It was unsettled off a transition substitution, and Chad Cusimano earned the helper. But Trevor Yaboa-Cody for Garden City would get the Trojans on the board by the end of the first quarter. There he scores on the run. 3-1 Bulls at the end of the first. And Garden City was looking for more as they progressed into the second quarter. Christian Sullivan has a shot snared by Mike Simone. It would remain 3-1. Garden City trailing at this point 4-1, and Joe Scatarigia setting up Gavin Pappas for the tally as Garden City cut the deficit to just 2. But then Smithtown West would score again in the second quarter. Mark Cottage high crease, Ryan Bell on the setup. Second goal of the quarter for Mark Cottage. The Bulls scoring 2 out of 3 in the second. And for the third time today, they enjoy a 3-goal advantage. So our halftime score of 5-2, Smithtown West over Garden City. Second half coming up next on the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week. Back here at Smithtown West, moments away from the start of the second half. 5-2 in favor of Smithtown West. And as we send it down to the field, I hope this is because, Amanda, you are about to show us your very new cheer.
Definitely not, David. As I told you on the shoot-around this week, I'm not a good dancer and definitely not a good cheerleader, but I am good at talking to coaches. And when I spoke to Coach Fennell, he might be having a little bit of deja vu. He says, we were in the same situation against Smithtown West last year, and all this game is about is winning the third quarter. And in order to do that, we need to do the little things correctly, like picking up those ground balls and really just taking care of the ball in general. Now, Coach Moltisanti says, I'm really happy with this first game. I was expecting some first game jitters, but he says we need to be a little bit more efficient on offense. We need to take better shots. He wants to see the shot selection. He said, let's hold on to the ball a little bit longer, make that extra pass, and really find the best shot available.
Well, it's not a cheer, but we'll take it. Thanks for the report from the field. I'm David Resnick. You just heard from Amanda Puglisi, checking in with the head coaches of both sides. And a lot of the feedback is what you would expect for a Saturday afternoon in March. Sloppiness, execution lacking in some respects, but talent very evident on both sides as Justin Coppola on the left and Connor Calderon on the right settle in for the first face-off of the second half. And Calderon, who's celebrating a birthday today, jumped, and that evens up the face-offs at 4 apiece. James Basile did not score in that first half. It was Trevor Yeboah-Cody and Gavin Pappas, with Joe Scatarigia registering an assist. Basile trying to take advantage of the short stick Frank. Christian Sullivan seeing more time. He's emerged already. The junior in the midfield, part of a group here with Pappas and Yeboah-Cody. Scatarigia, Puccio, and Basile round out the 6 on the fields. Straight line dodge rather, and a dive at the end for Basile as he got tripped up, avoiding the crease on the way by, and the opening tally of the second half is to Garden City. Look at this move as he sets up the dodge. Frank giving him the inside position. Spencer tripping him on the way by, and that is a move to the rack for a score for James Basile. So already a better second half for Garden City compared to last year when they were shut out 6-0. Off the face-off win, Danny Cadigan. Cottage set him up. And an answer took just 9 seconds as Smithtown West, for the second time today, scoring quickly off a Connor Calderon face-off win. Danny Cadigan with his 3rd point, 2nd goal. And a moment ago I gave you face-off tallies that did not actually include all the prior face-offs, so fell behind, and so we'll say they're about even, if that works for everybody. Calderon pushing it forward. Scatarigia for Garden City, unsettled for the Trojans. Yeboah-Cody down the middle and behind the back. Highlight reel goal for the senior bound for Brown. Scatarigia running down, Basile on the wing, extra pass and a deposit over the shoulder. 2nd goal for Yeboah-Cody today. Three goals combined in 33 seconds, and it's back to a 2-goal game. It's almost like a rebirth for both these teams after a somewhat sluggish first half, although Smithtown West did pop in 3 in the first 5 minutes, so perhaps it's just Garden City that has used the first 24 minutes to find its rhythm. Calderon with the face-off win. Danny Cadigan with 2 goals, Mark Cottage with 2 as well. Both those individuals with 3-point games already. Just underway in the 3rd. Ryan Bell to Matt Cadigan, and now it's Spencer Frank, the midfield unit. Look at the hustle by Colin Hart of Garden City. He quarterbacked the Long Island Championship team on the gridiron in the fall, returning All-American on defense Also earning first team All-State in New York. Frank out of the reach of Cadigan, and the skip pass sails out of play. Eric Muller remains in goal for Garden City. The same can be said as Smithtown West doesn't make a goalie change either. Mike Simone out there, and he cannot stop the dump in right on the crease. Will Puccio right on the welcome mat. Back-to-back goals here for Garden City, and another transition tally as they've potted in 4. James Basile set it up. His second assist to go along with a goal in this quarter. So Garden City with 2 goals in the first half and now 3 goals in the opening 3.5 minutes of the third. Hold against Calderon as he clamped down on Coppola's stick, but the cross did not have the ball. So a chance for Garden City to tie. They have not been even since the start of the game. First time all afternoon they've scored back-to-back. A 3-1 advantage here in the third quarter. Yeboah Cody does not receive the pass because Matt Cadigan intercepted it. Cadigan gets stripped from the back but maintains possession, and that's off the pipe on the angle from Hoffman. What a sequence that was. The steal, the strip, the recollection, and then the iron. Smithtown West clinging to a 1-goal lead. 7:15 to go, third quarter. Smithtown West spends a lot of time together in the offseason, so the transition to the preseason was fluid, and even though they spent the first week inside as Suffolk County Schools cleared these turf fields of snow, they don't feel like it was really much of a setback because of the rest of their offseason work. They came out the hotter team. They came out the more fluid team with a 3-0 start, and now Garden City starting to catch on. Hoffman stripped. Trojans are swarming to him every time he carries across goal line extended. Fed inside to Cadigan, and that is a pass that bounces away from Danny Cadigan and back to Garden City. Ford Carney on the reset, very good in transition. He'll need some reinforcements this time, though. Colin Hart gliding across midfield to Basile. Hidden ball trick, Basile and Yeboah Cody. Didn't really play that out very much. Hope they enjoyed it. Past the midway point of the quarter. A dodge and a score. Gavin Pappas down the left alley, finding a seam. And we are tied at 6. Gavin Pappas scores for the second time today. It's a 4-1 run for Garden City. And open looks that Garden City did not convert on in the first half are now being knocked down here in the second. In my estimation, we have a ball game. Tied for the first time today. Smithtown West led by 3 on 3 separate occasions, and now the emphasis at the face-off X has increased. Calderon pops it back, but Garden City outnumbered Ryan Bell, and the Trojans with the possession and the chance to take their first lead of the day. A lot of Christian Sullivan today. A guy thought to be in the mix who is really earning his time. Jumped ahead of Holden Overbeck and Nick Rosado in terms of playing time. Skageragia has drawn the poll of Christian Loud, a Stony Brook-bound senior. Inside of 5 minutes to play third quarter, Garden City has scored 3 in a row to recover out of a 6-3 hole. And just a correction, Garden City has been down 3 on 4 separate occasions, one more than previously noted. Yaboa Cody goes backhanded. Appear to be off the helmet of Simone, who split time in the preseason with Cameron Young and cannot stop this placed ball in the corner. On the cut, Gavin Pappas, and Garden City takes its first lead of the game. It is a hat trick for Gavin Pappas. Christian Sullivan found the cutter. Wasn't the hardest shot, but it was perfectly placed. First point of the season for Christian Sullivan, as Garden City has now scored 4 straight, and they own a 5-1 advantage in this third quarter. Just 2 first half goals. Now 5 in less than 8 minutes. Justin Coppola and the Garden City face-off unit getting in a bit of a rhythm. Connor Calderon sensing it a little bit, and he jumped. Both players with a lot of varsity experience, both all-staters from a season ago, going on to Division I college lacrosse. It was billed as a terrific matchup of a game within the game, and it has turned out to be that way. Christian Sullivan, left alley dodge and a fire. Christian Sullivan down the left alley, and a bullet by Simone makes it 8-6 Trojans. Bob Maltasanti letting his team play through this 5-goal Garden City run. This is Sullivan winning a matchup and doing so against Kevin Eli. What a tip of the hat to Sullivan for getting by the 3-year starter bound for Utah and anchor of the defensive unit for Smithtown West. And maybe Christian Sullivan will be a player that doesn't have a varsity history, or at least an extensive one, that emerges this season for Garden City. Violation is called against Coppola. Possession, Smithtown West, in need of a goal. They've gone 7 minutes without a tally, partly because the Trojans have dominated possession, helped by a couple of Bulls turnovers. Smithtown West again looking to create transition off the substitution line. Garden City gave up a goal that way in the first half. Much better defense this time. Smart job here by the Bulls to really work the ball, make sure their offense personnel remembers what it's like to have the ball in their cross, because it's been some time. Frank stepped down in a rocket. A big-time rip by Spencer Frank, and that ends the 5-goal run by Garden City. Mark Cottage sets it up for his 4th point, and that is an absolute howitzer by Spencer Frank, who pins it in the upper right 90. That is some high heat. And great location on the shot for Frank's first goal of the game. Make it, take it. Calderon to Cottage. Cottage held up high, and it has just dawned on me as Garden City was awfully close to a penalty that we have not had one yet today. I'd like to join the referees, whatever their plans are after the game, but it's really just been a clean game. There hasn't been a ton of physicality as both teams kind of ease back into the season, and that's a credit to both squads for really playing an open type of game. And also the skill level for these teams so high. So a whistle stops play, and there's a question about numbers, whether it was an offsides. Offsides with possession is a turnover. Offsides without possession is a penalty. So a penalty is called. Pierce Archer takes a knee for 30 seconds. Man up here for Smithtown West. Chance to tie it back up after they fell behind 8-6, allowing 5 straight Garden City goals. On the cut, terrific look. Ryan Bell right through the teeth of the defense, and John Hoffman put it on a platter.
Smithtown West goal scored by number 5, Ryan Bell.
It's a man-up goal. So Smithtown West with the answer of 2 in a row. After Garden City had a 5-goal spurt. And you wonder if it's late April, early May, does Bob Moltisanti take a timeout? but it's March, and he let his guys play through it. And I think it'll be a valuable lesson and something that they could refer back to later in the season when necessary. Joe Scatterigia, defense to offense, a minute to play in the third quarter, and Garden City can hold for the final shot if they wish. So Garden City opened the quarter scoring 6 of the first 7, including 5 in a row. Smithtown West answered back with 2 straight. Smithtown West took a 3-goal lead for the 4th time in the game early in the quarter. And then the Trojans went on the run to tie the game for the first time today, take the lead for the first time 2 in a row by the Bulls, and we are deadlocked for the 2nd time today. Scatterigia and now Yeboah Cody. 8 seconds to go, third quarter. Basile out of the reach of Pappas, who has a hat trick today, and with just 2 seconds left, that should just about do it in the quarter. On the restart to Cusimano, he launches it down the field, and the third quarter is over. Mike Simone was tested. The Bulls defense allowed 5 straight, but their offense battled back against Garden City, and we are tied up at 8, 3 quarters in the books in our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. I hope they have coffee, bagels, breakfast food. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. Smithtown West and Garden City now battling into the 4th quarter in this non-league matchup, and we are tied at 8. I still have hopes for AP that she has mastered a cheer, but I'm more realistic and know she just has a report on the coaches. AP?
I like that much better, David. So, of course, you were questioning if Coach Moltisanti was going to call that timeout, and he actually addressed that to his team. He said, look, we knew that this game was going to have ebbs and flows. We knew that we were going to face some adversity. That's a championship team in Garden City that we're facing. But he said, you guys took some punches, but you pushed right back. He's really proud of the way his team fought back in that third quarter. But he says, look, defensively, we just need to keep the pressure on their hands, and we also need to be aware of their cutters. We cannot lose sight of Garden City's players like Trevor Yeboah Cody. We just need to know where they are at all times.
You know, it's an interesting idea from Bob Moltisanti, who says we want to win our last game of the year, and because we expect to be in the playoffs, winning our last game of the year means winning a state championship. And there are times that Smithtown West could be the 3rd best team on Long Island, but that means sometimes they're the 3rd best team in their own county. And so they have been a tremendous program under Bob Moltisanti. Is the Bulls off the check. What a save! Big time stop by Eric Muller. Outnumbered in transition as Smithtown West maintains possession. Frank to Hoffman. And just to complete that thought, Smithtown West has yet to make it out of the county under Bob Moltisanti. And yet you look at his record in his 7 previous seasons, and they're 101-74. They've been great, just not good enough. But that doesn't, but again, sometimes you're the 2nd best team in Suffolk A. You could be the 2nd best team in the county. You're the 3rd best team in Suffolk A. You could be a top 25 team in the country. So they're just trying to plug with it, stay with it, plug away at it. John Hoffman, and trying to take these non-league moments and help build a championship team. One more look. This is how the quarter opened up, and Muller, what a stop. A one-on-one denial to keep it tied. It was 3-1 Smithtown West at the end of the first quarter, 5-2 advantage Bulls at halftime. A 6-3 quarter in favor of Garden City makes it 8-all. That turnaround shot is high. Cadigan missing the target. Will have a restart out of the corner. Terrific look set up by our crew. Give you that eye-level feel of being between the lines with the Bulls and the Trojans opening up the 2019 season. On the doorstep, Cottage walking in on the angle. 9-8 Bulls. It's 3 straight for Smithtown West. Great ball movement off the restart. Matt Cadigan set it up with the extra pass. Mark Cottage now has a hat trick. Scored twice in the second quarter. And he also assisted on 2 third-quarter goals. It's a 5-point start to the season for Mark Cottage, a 3-year starter. Quick face-off win. Garden City unsettled. Great collapsing defense by Greco. Scatteregia down the left. Scatteregia turns and fires. It's a low to high riser that is not close. Here comes Pappas, a hat trick for Garden City. James Basile with 1 and 2. Trevor Yeboah-Cody with a pair of tallies. Garden City, which has trailed most of the game, is now behind again, but not for long. Gavin Pappas rips it to tie it at 9. Four goals now for Pappas. 1 in the second, couple in the third. It's been nearly even at the face-off X between Calderon and Capola. Jousting at the dot. Neither player giving up an inch. It is just wedged between the two crosses. They'll reface. Neither player really had an advantage. Officials coming over to explain it to both head coaches. You could see Amanda listening in. AP?
So, David, they're actually going to do the face-off over again. The referees are explaining to both coaches that nobody had an advantage, nobody was making a move. So to keep it even for both sides, they figured the best way to do it is to just do the face-off over again, and neither coach is really too happy about the whistle.
I've seen a redraw in girls lacrosse, which would be similar to redoing a jump ball in basketball when there's something procedurally that didn't go correctly. But I don't think I've ever seen an idea of a redraw, and I think both coaches looking for an explanation and trying to understand why that would even be in consideration. Let's see if this one's quicker and cleaner. You know the competitors, Calderon on the left, Coppola on the right. Popped out by Connor. Frank lost it. Garden City picks it up. Coppola lost it. Christian Loud picks it up in time, unsettled. It's on the doorstep and bounces to Muller. On the outlet out to Bacafola. He can move, but he gives way to Puccio. Tied at 9, 7 minutes to go. That's wide for Pappas. 4 goals, including the last one. That was set up by Basile. Basile carries, lefty cradle. Smithtown West always quick to bring the help. Yaboa Cody on the spot. Now it's Pappas one more time against a short stick. Pushed by Cadigan. Now Yaboa Cody tries his luck. Looked for Pappas on the crease, and it's out of play. Good idea from Yaboa Cody to slip it back to Pappas, but March Lacrosse. Midway through the quarter, and this game a much different feel from last year where Smithtown West shut out Garden City 6-0 in the second half and ran away with a 12-3 victory. Garden City today recovering from a 3-0 hole, sparked by a 5-goal run in the third to take an 8-6 lead. They gave up 3 straight, but Garden City has scored the last, and now they have the turnover. Unsettled. That rings off the pipe. It hit the post. Jack Muldoon from the sharp angle nearly put the Trojans in front. And now sprinting back the other way on the doorstep. There is a push into the crease. Possession stays with Smithtown West. Cottage is contending that the ball is in the net as we take a look at the pipe that Muldoon hit on the other end. Flag is down. It is waved off because of the push. Or excuse me, that wouldn't make sense. Flag was picked up by the far official after the near side official called the push. because Cottage did land in the crease, but on the side, or excuse me, on the end line, and recovered in time by Smithtown West to call timeout. Terrific play by Billy Kephart right on the end line, along with Danny Bacafola to interrupt the play back there. Timeout taken by Smithtown West. They still have one left. Garden City has both. .435 remaining, fourth quarter. Smithtown West with 4 semifinal appearances in the last 5 seasons. Always have to contend with Ward Melville, who's the preseason #1, followed by these Bulls, then West Islip under new leadership after the retirement of Scotty Craig and his truck full of state titles. Northport and Comac rounding out the top 5 in Suffolk County. Meanwhile, for Garden City, we've already detailed their explosive non-league schedule that they will play. Always a contender in Class B. Manhasset, you can say the same there, and the Woodstick will be in late April, the 27th, a Saturday night, right here on News 12 Varsity. Garden City graduating a lot of really important seniors. They're backed up by a class of 2019 that is 22 deep. 4 of them have been 4-year varsity players and will be the anchors of this 2019 club for Steve Fennell, who entered today with a lot of interest and intrigue, curious what the team identity would be. What would they become? They started 1-2 last year, and they beat Syosset, lost to Smithtown West, and Steve Fennell kind of put his hands up and said, I have no idea what we are. Try to explain those 2 results to me and how they'll translate for the rest of the season. Well, they figured it out at some point because they ended the year 17-1 and New York State champs in Class B. That thrilling victory over Victor, who had won 3 straight state titles leading into last year's final. James Basile with the game winner, 1.6 to go. Perhaps we'll have another fantastic late second finish this afternoon to open up the 2019 season. Approaching the 4-minute mark out of the Smithtown West timeout, this is Spencer Frank. Against the short stick. Bacafola shading in his direction as Frank peels out wide. Now it's John Hoffman, the all-county returner. Real triple threat on offense. Hoffman has a shot that's shrugged off by Muller. Ryan Bell. Extended possession here for the Bulls. No real indication that the officials are eyeing a stall warning, but they are starting to creep in a bit to the box. Here comes Cadigan against Bacafola. Great matchup. Cadigan bounces one, guided away by Muller. Possession continues. Approaching 90 seconds of offensive time. Cottage there for the backup. Three and two for Cottage. You wonder when Garden City might use a timeout as their defensive unit has been playing on this end of the field for nearly 2 minutes. They've got 2 left in a tie game, late fourth quarter. This is Frank again against the short stick. And his pass is too high. It is out of bounds. Out of the one-handed reach by Hoffman. And it's Garden City ball in a tie game, 2:29 to go. It will start with Yeboah Cody, who senses a double team. And just as the Bulls want, it went far side to a long stick. But this is not just any long stick. This is the All-American Colin Hart gliding across midfield. Timeout Garden City with 2:17 to go. And Steve Fennell has the opportunity to gather the troops and draw up the winning play. Today is close. Much of their playoff run last year was not. And in the downstate final, the state semifinals against John Jay of Section 1, it was played at Adelphi, and the Trojans were awesome. A 14-4 final. Teddy Dolan leading a great defensive effort for Garden City, and the game wasn't even that close. John Jay had a terrific season, beating Yorktown in the section finals, beating the Huskers twice last year as Tim Scherr's club got over the hump and got back into the state playoffs with a Section 1 championship. But similarly to how Garden City just out-muscled, out-athlete Harborfields, John Jay felt the same and got into a deep hole early playing against the mystique and the experience which is Garden City Lacrosse. So 12-3 in the LIC, 14-4 in the state semifinals, and then 7-6, a nail-biter in the championship game against Victor. And how last season ended is how 2019 begins, with Garden City playing a close one against a very good opponent. This one, though, doesn't mean quite as much as the last game they played, with no disrespect to the Bulls or the regular season or playing games in March. But both these programs are about aspirations to play in June. So 2:16 remaining, Garden City possession, and let's see the 6 they come out with. We see Puccio and Muldoon, Yeboah Cody, Pappas, who leads the way with 4, Joe Scatarigia, and James Basile. And what makes this particular lineup very appealing is you have a couple of guys out there that can play both spots, both midfield and attack, to allow the Trojans to really take advantage of the matchup that they like the most. Yeboah Cody out of the midfield draws Christian Loud, the long stick midfielder of Smithtown West. Cadigan and Frank are out there playing short stick defensive defense against Pappas, who has 4 goals, and Scatarigia. That's the benefit of putting Yeboah Cody in the midfield. You have your leading scorer being face guarded by a short stick. Smithtown West had it for about 2.5 minutes, or a little over 2, I should correct myself. They had a couple of shots in the direction of the net, no stall warning. What kind of leniency will the officials give the Trojans here? Yeboah Cody dropped it. Fennell does have a timeout, doesn't need it, as Yeboah Cody recovered. 1:20 to go. Pressure moments here for the Trojans. Bob Multisanti right near midfield trying to plead his case for why there should be a stall warning on, saying that Garden City, as we pick him up from the field level, has just basically held the ball for a minute. Now the stall warning is on, and Garden City has to keep it in the box. But just 40 seconds to go anyway. Yeboah Cody. Now it's Pappas who has 4. Back to Yeboah Cody with 2. Big little pick behind the net. Joe Scatarigia. 15 seconds to go. Scatarigia takes a bump. Back to Trevor Yeboah Cody. Matched up against the short stick. Change of direction. Yeboah Cody dumps it over his shoulder and wide. 2.7 to go. Jack Muldoon will restart, but only after a timeout. Steve Fennell protesting, but the timeout is awarded to the Bulls. So Smithtown West can solidify its defense. Garden City has a moment to regroup and draw up the game-winning play. Clock will be reset to 3.5. Eight tenths added. In the day of technology, Steve Fennell still goes old school. We can't see the play, we just know he's working on it. Great job by our crew all game long. This time last year, everybody was bundled and you could see snowbanks and remnants of a brutal winter. No precipitation in the forecast today. It has been cool and windy but clear. Mike Simone, one of the rare players to sneak in long sleeves, but he's just been standing there all game, so understandably so. 3.5 on the clock. It's a tie game. It is a Garden City reset behind the cage with Jack Muldoon. Muldoon in front, and it is intercepted by Simone. End of regulation. What a comeback by Garden City. Impressive answer by Smithtown West. And we did not see a goal over the final 8:29 as both offenses slowed things down and the defenses tightened. We have a golden goal. 4 minutes, I believe, for overtime, and a couple of returning All-Americans head back to the middle of the field to speak with the officials. Colin Hart for Garden City, Connor Calderon for Smithtown West. Steve Fennell on the left, Bob Multisanti on the right. Makes the first face-off of overtime that much more important. We've already seen a couple of transition goals scored off the face-off after Connor Calderon wins for Smithtown West. I think both coaches can agree that whatever happens in overtime, both teams are better for it. Both teams will be better because of this matchup, because of this experience. For Garden City, seeing them fight back out of a 3-0 hole, for Smithtown West to resist calling that timeout as they allowed 5 straight, and to answer back with 3 in a row to take the lead. Both teams will certainly have a few talking points after today's matchup to set up the rest of the season. Smithtown West and a ultra competitive Suffolk A, where Bob Moltisanti thinks the league is 11-12 deep, as every team has great players, great coaching, college players up and down the lineup. Before we drop the ball, the officials just speaking one more time with Fennell and Moltisanti, and it's been a terrific battle all game long, team versus team, but also Fogo versus Fogo. Justin Coppola on the left, Connor Calderon on the right, and for Calderon, who's celebrating a birthday today, who is used to winning better than 80% of his faceoffs, it's been a virtual deadlock at the faceoff X today. And a huge exchange upcoming with 4 minutes on the overtime clock. Tied at 9, next goal wins. Calderon has the ability to end this quickly. Does the birthday boy get his wish? He pops it between his legs, but it's tracked down by Coppola. Possession for Garden City. Coppola wanted to pull the trigger and then kept it in his cross. So a huge face-off win for Coppola, helped by the hustle. And now Garden City with the first possession of overtime. A timeout available, but not needed. Garden City's last goal came with 8:29 remaining in the fourth. Last Smithtown West goal came with 9:51 to go. So defense ruled over the last 3 quarters of the final period. A 6-3 third put the Trojans back in the game after trailing 5-2 at halftime. Here's Pappas with 4 on the crease. Great look! It's over! Will Puccio, the overtime winner for Garden City. "63 seconds needed for Garden City to complete the comeback." Gavin Pappas had 4 goals and the most important assist of the day. Will Puccio found an opening on the high crease, and he delivers Garden City an opening day victory. 10-9 the final. Garden City in overtime over Smithtown West. And the defending champs open up 2019 with a victory in our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics, with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Well, if this is any indication for what the 2019 lacrosse season will be like, well, stay tuned. Garden City and Smithtown West play to overtime. 10-9 the victory for the Trojans. They fell behind 3-0, 4-1, 5-2, 6-3, and then they went on a run of 5 in a row to make a 3-goal deficit into a 2-goal lead, and they held tough, scoring the final 2 goals of the game, including the Will Puccio overtime winner, which was assisted by Gavin Pappas, who was standing by with Amanda.
Gavin, at halftime, your coach said it's all about winning the third quarter. What do you think was the difference in this team in the third quarter based on how you guys played in that first half?
I think the D stepped up big. They made some good clears, and then we were able to get in good spots in offense, and we were able to put some in.
A lot of new faces on this team this year. So how do you think so far in your first game? How did everybody play?
Well, we started off a little slow, but I think as the game went on, everyone got more comfortable and started moving the ball better, and we were able to get some goals.
In a game like this one, especially a non-league game, it's all about learning about yourself, learning about your team. What are you going to take away from this one?
I think we're going to take away just slow starts. Doesn't matter. We got to keep fighting as a group and be confident that we're going to get the next goal.
63 seconds in, the game winner. What did you see on that one?
I took a nice dodge down the left alley, and I saw Will wide open the crease, fed it to him, and he did his job and put it in.
All right, sounds good. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you.
All right, David, back to you.
Well, Gavin Pappas, a 2-year varsity player who was on the second line last year, is already stepping up in a big way as part of the first midfield unit. 4 goals along with 1 assist today, a 5-point afternoon to lead Garden City in this 10-9 overtime victory for Smithtown West. Earlier in the game, Smithtown West building a 3-0 lead, and Garden City struck for the first time. And Trevor Yaboa-Cody, a player we expect quite a bit from after his terrific football and lacrosse pedigree. This actually came a little bit later on as James Basile set up Yaboa-Cody for this highlight reel behind the back toss. That was the first of 5 straight goals for Garden City in the third quarter that really turned the game, and the Trojans finish it off in overtime, a 10-9 victory. So we opened up the 2019 lacrosse campaign with a terrific Nassau-Suffolk non-league battle. Smithtown West coming off of a semifinal appearance in last year's Suffolk A playoffs. Garden City, the reigning New York State Class B champs, in a rivalry that goes back more than a decade, delivered this Saturday afternoon. 10-9 the final. Garden City wins on the road over Smithtown West in overtime. For Amanda Puglisi and our entire crew, I'm David Resnick. Thanks so much for joining us on the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week.